You just got mooned. Welcome to the Human Nature Channel. I'm your host, mtamsula, and what am I doing here? Well, it's Tuesday night once again here in my dad's available for events farm garage. Oh yeah, parties happen here. The big one is my brother's Labor Day party, where he has a bunch of musician friends come up, relatives come up. I think I've mentioned it before. Me and the human encyclopedia, who always comes along. You know, we're doing the hot dogs and the hamburgers and the kibasi and stuff. There are these high-tech sawhorses. I'm going to have to pull them out and show you one of these days, which we use to set up the tables, right? So it happens, and in fact, the last time there was a shindig up here was Memorial Day. My brother invited me up. I'd already been invited to go over to the cleanup man's house, so I had to say, sorry, Mark. I mean, and honestly, if Mark had gotten to me first, I would have been up here. And he brought some friends and musician friends, and they had a great old time. So, here's the thing. Dad and I are sitting around, and he's like, gee, I wonder if your brother or any of his friends got video of the Memorial Day cookout. And I'm like, well, I'll find out. So I sent my brother an email. Do you have any video from the cookout or anything similar? And he sent me something. So this next clip, this song, gives you an idea what it's like to be up here in the summer with a bunch of musicians. So how about some Las Vegas Shooting Truth Community yak, because that's what you're here for. That also means putting the magnetic paperclip picker on active duty. There's my keys. In the comments section of last week's video, I received a response from Concerned Citizen. It was good to hear from CC again. It had been a while. CC was commenting on the running discussion between Eric Peters and myself about Stephen Paddock's behavior as captured by the Locke interrogation report, where Eric wondered if Paddock's manipulation of the doors was a dry run through the 7 extra key cards he had in anticipation of passing them out to visitors. I, on the other hand, leaned in the direction, to put it in its simplest form, that Paddock was poking the hotel security system as if with a stick to see if he could get some response from it. As long as Paddock wasn't getting any response from security, he could proceed with his plan reassured. CC did side with Eric on this. Given the fact that he was also accumulating an arsenal in the room, said CC, I would think that he also would not want to attract the attention of security, so maybe decided to spread out the tests over multiple days. Yes, all things being equal, that's quite logical. If you had a hotel room full of guns, you would not necessarily want to invite security to come up and check on you. Then something hit me as I was reading what CC said. Eric Peters and I both acknowledged that neither of our theories explain all the evidence in the LIR, yet at the same time we are also saying the same thing but from different directions. We both agreed Paddock was running some kind of test, although we're scratching our heads at what he was testing for. I've had a couple of days to think about it since I posted my last video, and I started wondering if there was a possible synthesis of our ideas. Let's say Paddock was poking at the security system to get a response because he was anticipating visitors. And he could give those visitors reassurances that no matter how many comings and goings were happening with Paddock's rooms, hotel security was not going to notice because he'd checked it out. And one final thought. If Paddock was conflicted at any level, he might have been trying to tempt fate by coaxing hotel security into paying him a visit. If Paddock was not conflicted at any level, forget what I just said. But this makes a good jumping off point into the fascinating possibility of Paddock having guests. One thing about the Fit Report that always fascinated me was page 50 and the eyewitness testimony of valet parking attendant Daniel Cruz that was given in interviews to LVMPD detectives DeAngelis and Downing on October 3rd. Cruz tells the story of working in valet on 9/26 as Paddock arrived in a van. Cruz greeted him. He stated, he knows Paddock because he was a regular at the Mandalay Bay and always tells the valet attendant his name is Stephen with a PH Paddock. Cruz was not 100% sure if Paddock was by himself. Cruz described Paddock as a friendly guy who usually tipped $5. Cruz stated he was working on Friday, September 29th, and saw Paddock in the valet area standing next to his vehicle with a short Asian female. Cruz believed Paddock was drunk, and the Asian female was happy and nice. Cruz asked Paddock where he was coming from, and he replied, "That concert across the street." Paddock gave Cruz $5 and Cruz left. Cruz stated he was 100% sure it was Paddock and he was 100% sure it was Friday because he took Saturday, September 30th off. Cruz could not remember what Paddock or the Asian female were wearing, and nothing stuck out from his interaction with Paddock. That's the gist of the first interview. Cruz is interviewed by detectives DeAngelis and Downing 2 days later on October 5th, and Cruz initially stands by what he said 2 days before. Detective DeAngelis then asked Cruz if he knew a guy named Phil Torres. Cruz stated he knew him and that Torres was a baggage handler. Detective DeAngelis asked Cruz if he saw Torres on that night, September 29th, and Cruz responded, I don't even know. Detective DeAngelis explained to Cruz that he interviewed Torres, and Torres told Detective DeAngelis he saw Paddock on the night of September 29th. Torres stated Paddock was alone and not drunk. Detective DeAngelis explained they were having a difficult time finding a recorded video surveillance file of the interaction Cruz was describing. Cruz then says he now is only 50% sure it was Paddock. At the end of all this is an interesting note. Throughout the investigation, detectives were not able to corroborate Cruz's story. None of the surveillance video showed the interaction between Paddock and Cruz. Detectives have evidence that shows Paddock was arriving alone at the Mandalay Bay Valet on September 28th at approximately 21:46 hours and not leaving the property until September 30th at 0100 hours. So that was mostly from the FIT report, and there are some very interesting things in here. In fact, they're so interesting and tantalizing and contradictory, I'm surprised it was even included. Especially when the police are telling us in a note that we can't do anything with this. Okay, why is it even here? Is the LVMPD saying we believe Cruz but can't back it up? The most amazing thing to me is the possibility that on the 29th, Paddock was actually across the street at the concert. It reminds me of something Eddie Schmidt said in a comment to me about Paddock being at a Shell station and an Arco the day before and was calculating the yards to his reassigned room. Evidence Paddock spent more time out and about than has been acknowledged. I mean, if it's possible there's cell phone video of Paddock at the concert on 9/29, is it worth the bother looking? It would show Stephen Paddock reconnoitering the scene. Then there's the Asian female who is happy and nice. And it's a damn shame there's no surveillance video of her, because that's the most amazing thing about page 50 of the FIT report. You read it, and at the very end, it just goes poof. Paddock was seen by Cruz with a companion? A very clever way for the LVMPD to bury something they want us to forget. And wouldn't it be funny if this Asian woman was the person who made the noise complaint against room 135 on October 1st, 2017 at 1:30 in the morning? Well, there's always something interesting here in my dad's garage, inside or outside. What can I show you today? Le più, le sconquez-vous. Well, I think I have everything I need. I got a scratch. That's all I need. Actually, the way this scratch came about is I got a splinter. And what I had to do is, take out this little pocket knife, dig it out. Now, it's no longer a splinter, it's just a scratch. Still, I got that splinter playing around with this thing. I should have asked Dad when I had the chance, but I think this is called a mattock, and I got my splinter off the wooden handle. It's almost like a hatchet with the blade turned sideways. You gotta be careful with this. You could hurt somebody. I have a horseshoe. Lucky me. I got an elbow. If I were talking to you on the phone and I said, I got an elbow, You'd probably say, so? I got pickled herring. Hey, Scott, Woolies, huh? Oh, I got to do a video about Woolies Fish Market one of these days. Okay, I do have a song, and I brought it up, and I broke out the accordion, and it was too complicated to do, so I am going to do it a cappella. House of the Rising Sun. The version by the Animals, as far as I can tell, yeah. There is a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun, and it's been the ruin of many a poor boy, and God, I know I'm one. My mother was a tailor. She sewed my new blue jeans. My father was a gambling man down in New Orleans. Now the only thing a gambler needs is a suitcase and a trunk, and the only time he's satisfied is when he's on a drum. Oh, mother, tell your children not to do what I have done. Spend your lives in sin and misery in the house of the rising sun. Well, I got one foot on the platform and the other foot on the train. I'm going back to New Orleans to wear that ball and chain. Well, there is a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun, and it's been the ruin of many a poor boy, and God, I know I won. What do you say, Irv? You can't think of anybody you'd rather hide out from the cops with? Well, happy curfew to you too, Irv. Time for your close-up, pal.